The streets of Dawnton were always busy in the mornings, the smell of fresh bread from roadside stalls, the sound of bus conductors shouting for passengers, and the long lines of yellow taxis. Among them was one car everyone seemed to know, a bright yellow taxi with the name Bode painted neatly on the driver's door. Bode was in his mid-40s, with neatly combed hair and a voice so calm it could put a crying baby to sleep. He had been driving his taxi for nearly 10 years. Parents trusted him. Teachers recognized him. He was the kind of man who always had a smile and a joke ready. Sometimes, if the rain was heavy or a child's school bus was late, Bode would pull up and say, "Ah, you're running late? Come, let me take you to school. No money. Just hurry so you won't be punished." The children liked him. He would give them sweets, ask about their favorite subjects, and tell funny stories about his own school days. But what no one knew was that Bode had two sides. The one people saw in the daylight, cheerful, helpful, trustworthy, and the one that came alive when no one was watching, cold, calculating, and dangerous. It had started years ago, when he met a man named Chief Razak, who ran a business in another city. At first, Bode didn't understand what that business was. But the first time he drove a young boy to the outskirts instead of school, and got a thick envelope of cash for it, he understood everything. He also understood something else. The more innocent he looked, the easier it was to lure them. And Bode was a man who could act innocence like a second skin. That Monday morning, as he parked outside St. Mary's Primary School, he wasn't there to drop anyone off. He was there to watch. It happened on a cloudy Tuesday. 9-year-old Femi Adeyemi kissed his mother goodbye at the gate and skipped down the street toward school. He was a lively boy, always early to class, and had never been in trouble before. But that day, he never arrived. When the school called Mrs. Adeyemi around 10 a.m., she thought it was a mistake. She had watched him leave with her own eyes. Panic set in when she searched the usual streets and found no sign of him. The police were informed, flyers were printed, but no witness could recall seeing Femi after he left home. Bode heard the news while drinking tea at a roadside stall. He pretended to be shocked. "Ah, this city is no longer safe," he said, shaking his head. But inside, he was calm. This was not his first job for Chief Razak. A week later, 10-year-old Blessing Ajayi vanished. Her disappearance was eerily similar, last seen on her way to St. Mary's. This time, a woman selling groundnuts near the school gate remembered a yellow taxi stopping to let a child in. When asked if she knew the driver, she hesitated. "He looked familiar. I think I've seen him around before." Still, no one connected the dots. Bode was too careful. He never operated near his home, never spoke much to other drivers, and kept his taxi spotless. Bode had a routine. He would park a short distance from schools just before classes started. If the rain was falling or a child looked lost, he would drive closer. "Your mummy sent me," he would say. "She's busy, but she told me to drop you." Some children hesitated, but most entered. The seats smelled faintly of sweets and biscuits, another trick to make the ride feel safe. On one Thursday morning, Bode spotted a small boy with a heavy school bag struggling to walk in the drizzle. He slowed down and leaned toward the open window. "Hey, you'll be soaked before you get to class. Hop in." The boy looked unsure, but Bode's gentle smile erased his doubt. Within minutes, the taxi disappeared into the back streets. Tund, a sharp 12-year-old, started noticing something strange. 2 of his friends had gone missing in the last 2 weeks. Then one Monday, he saw that same yellow taxi again, parked opposite the school gate. He recognized the driver. The man was always around whenever a child disappeared. That evening, he told his elder sister, Amaka, about his suspicion. At first, she laughed it off. "Tund, you've been watching too many detective films." But his serious expression made her stop smiling. "I think you should tell Uncle Segan," she said finally. Uncle Segan was a police officer. When Tund told him everything, he didn't dismiss it. Instead, he leaned forward. "You might be right, Tund. But we need proof. Would you be brave enough to help us catch him?" Tund swallowed hard, but nodded. The plan was simple. Tund would pretend to be alone on his way to school. If Bode offered him a ride, he would accept, while an unmarked police car followed closely behind. It was a Friday morning when they put the plan into action. Tund walked slowly, pretending to be distracted. As expected, the yellow taxi pulled up beside him. "Ah, Tund. Where's your school bus today?" Bode smiled. "Come, let me take you. It's free." Tund hesitated for a moment, enough to make it look real, then got in. The doors locked with a click. Instead of heading toward the school, Bode turned into a quieter street. "We'll take a shortcut," he said. But Tund noticed they were going in the opposite direction. Before long, the police car blocked the taxi. Another patrol vehicle pulled in behind. Bode's smile vanished. "What is this?" he shouted. The officers pulled him out, searching the car. In the boot, they found ropes, duct tape, a knife, and several photos of children, including Femi and Blessing. Bode was handcuffed on the spot. In interrogation, Bode at first denied everything. But when confronted with the evidence, he confessed. He had been working with Chief Razak for over 3 years, delivering children to be taken across state lines. Each child was worth thousands of naira to the gang. He showed no remorse. "It's just business," he said coldly. The city of Donton was shaken. Parents stopped allowing their children to walk to school alone. Schools increased security, and police patrols became a regular sight. Tund was celebrated as a hero, though he remained humble. "I just didn't want more of my friends to go missing," he told the press. Bode was sentenced to life in prison. Chief Razak was later arrested in another state after a police sting. The yellow taxi was impounded and left to rust in the police yard, a silent reminder of how danger can hide behind the friendliest smile. The courtroom was packed on the day Bode's trial began. Parents of missing children sat in the front rows, clutching photos of their sons and daughters. Some wept quietly, others stared at Bode with pure hatred. Bode walked in wearing a clean shirt, still keeping that calm, almost arrogant expression. His lawyer claimed he was innocent, that the police had misunderstood his role. But when the prosecutor presented the photos found in his car, the murmurs in the courtroom grew louder. One by one, mothers took the stand. Mrs. Adeyemi's voice trembled as she described the morning Femi vanished. "I trusted everyone in my neighborhood, and now I can't even trust my own shadow." Blessing's mother broke down mid-testimony, sobbing so hard the judge had to call for a short recess. The weight of their pain hung heavy in the air. While the trial continued, the police worked behind the scenes to track Chief Razak's network. Tund's uncle, Officer Segan, traveled to neighboring states, piecing together the gang's routes. In an abandoned warehouse in Ibadan, they found school uniforms, books, and shoes, proof that other children had passed through there. Some of the items matched those belonging to Donton's missing kids. One day, a call came from a police unit in Benin City. They had raided a compound and found 6 children locked inside, hungry but alive. Among them was Femi. When Femi was brought home, his mother screamed with joy and collapsed in tears. The news gave other parents hope that their children might still be found. But the gang wasn't finished. 2 nights later, an unmarked police car was ambushed while transporting rescued children to safety. Shots were fired, tires burst, and in the chaos, one child was taken again. It became clear that Razak's men were still watching every move. The police tightened security, moving children under armed escort and keeping locations secret. During questioning, Bode let something slip. "Even some of your police wear the same shoes we do." It hinted that there was a mole inside the force feeding information to the gang. Officer Segan was furious but careful. He began quietly observing his colleagues, looking for unusual behavior. His suspicion fell on Sergeant Bala, a man often seen making unexplained late-night phone calls. One evening, Segan followed him to a dingy bar, where Bala met a stranger and passed him a brown envelope. Bala was arrested, and in his phone, they found call logs to Razak's men. He confessed to selling information for cash. From Bala's confession, the police learned about a hidden safe house deep in a farming village. It was heavily guarded, but if they moved fast, they could surprise the gang before the children were moved again. Segan joined the strike team. They left at dawn in 3 unmarked vans. The safe house was surrounded just as the gang was preparing breakfast. Shots rang out, boots thudded on dusty ground, and children screamed. Within minutes, Razak's men were subdued, and 11 more children were freed. Razak himself was caught trying to escape through the back, dragging a boy with him. Segan tackled him to the ground. Back in Donton, the reunited families filled the police station with tears, laughter, and prayers. Some children clung tightly to their parents, afraid to let go. Others sat silently, too traumatized to speak. The city celebrated, but the scars would take time to heal. With the new evidence from the raids, Bode's defense crumbled. The judge found him guilty on all counts: kidnapping, child trafficking, and conspiracy. He was sentenced to life without parole. Bode's face remained expressionless as the sentence was read, but for the first time, his hands shook. Chief Razak's trial drew national attention. The scale of his operations shocked the country. Over 40 children from different states had been taken in the last 2 years. He was given the death penalty, and the government promised tighter child protection laws. Tund was honored at a city ceremony for his bravery. The mayor placed a medal around his neck and called him the boy who saved Daunton's children. Tund's only wish was simple: "I want every child to walk to school without fear again." The schools began teaching children about stranger danger. Parents formed neighborhood watch groups, and taxi drivers were required to register and wear visible ID cards. Posters with the words, "Don't get in, even if they know your name," were placed near every school gate. Months later, the yellow taxi still sat in the police yard, covered in dust and rust. People avoided looking at it when they passed by, as if it could still lure children with its false warmth. But to Officer Segan, it was more than a car. It was a reminder that evil often hides in plain sight, wearing a smile. And somewhere in Daunton, parents held their children a little tighter, grateful for the boy who refused to stay silent. Life in Daunton began to return to normal, but not for everyone. Many of the rescued children struggled with nightmares. Some refused to leave their parents' sides, others couldn't focus in school. The government brought in counselors, but healing was slow. Tund visited Femi often, playing football with him in the dusty field near their homes. Femi still flinched at sudden noises, but each time they played, the shadows in his eyes seemed to fade a little. Legitimate taxi drivers found themselves facing suspicion from parents. Some even quit the job entirely. At the taxi union meeting, one driver said, "That man has destroyed our name. People don't trust us anymore." The union decided to run a campaign: free school rides, but only with visible ID cards and in the presence of a known adult. Months later, whispers began to spread that someone else was trying to continue Razak's operation. The police caught a man loitering near a primary school, offering sweets to children. During questioning, he admitted that he used to work under Razak and was just trying to keep the business alive. Officer Segan realized that evil doesn't vanish overnight. It hides, waiting for new opportunities. The police decided to run the same tactic that caught Bode. They used a brave teenager as bait, with undercover officers nearby. Within minutes, the man was arrested, carrying a small bag of sweets and a pocket knife. The arrest sent a strong message: Daunton was now watching. Tund, now a local hero, was invited to speak at schools about safety. He stood before hundreds of children and said, "I'm not braver than you. I was just tired of seeing my friends disappear. If you see something wrong, speak up, even if no one believes you at first." His words inspired a new culture among the city's youth: speak, watch, protect. Many of the rescued children began to bond with each other through support groups. They shared their experiences in safe spaces, learning that they weren't alone. Blessing, once a shy and withdrawn girl, began smiling again. Her mother whispered to Segan, "You brought my daughter back to me twice, once in body and now in spirit." From prison, Bode attempted one last act of manipulation. He sent a letter to a journalist, claiming he was innocent and had been framed. The letter included disturbing details about the children's habits, proving he still remembered them vividly. The journalist refused to publish it, and the prison tightened restrictions on Bode's communication. On the anniversary of the first kidnapping, the city held a candlelight memorial for the children who never returned. Parents carried framed photos, and names were read aloud. When Femi's name was called, he stepped forward holding his mother's hand. It was a reminder that some stories could still have light after darkness. Sitting in his office one rainy evening, Segan looked at the dusty file marked Bode/Razak case. He knew other threats would come, other criminals would try. But he also knew that Daunton was different now. Parents were vigilant, schools were guarded, and children were learning to be cautious. Still, the case haunted him: the faces of the missing, the ones they couldn't save. One morning, the police yard workers decided to clear out old impounded vehicles. The yellow taxi was dragged out, its paint faded, its tires flat. Instead of auctioning it, the city decided to destroy it publicly, a symbolic act to show that its days of deceit were over. As the crushing machine flattened the taxi, parents and children watched in silence. Tund stood beside Femi, both boys older and wiser now. "It's gone," Femi said quietly. Tund nodded. "Yeah. But the danger isn't in the car, it's in the people who choose to be like him. That's why we have to keep watching." The crowd clapped as the yellow taxi became scrap metal. And in Daunton, life moved forward, a little more cautious, a little more watchful, but determined never to be fooled by a friendly smile again.